The diner was buzzing with its usual chaos, plates clinking, customers chatting, and the faint hum of an old jukebox playing a forgotten tune from decades past. It was a place where life unfolded quietly yet vividly, tucked away on the corner of Main Street. But today, something felt different. The air carried a tension that even the steaming coffee couldn't mask. At a small table by the window sat a man who looked out of place. He wore a plain hoodie and jeans, his face partially hidden behind oversized sunglasses. No one recognized him as Alexander Hartwell, the billionaire CEO of Hartwell Hospitality Group, the company that owned this very diner, along with hundreds of others across the country. This wasn't just any visit. It was part of his secret mission to go undercover and experience firsthand how his employees worked and lived. Alexander had heard rumors about mismanagement and low morale within some branches of his empire. Instead of relying solely on reports, he decided to step into their shoes. Today, he chose this humble diner because it had been flagged for poor performance metrics. As far as anyone knew, he was simply another customer waiting for his order. He picked up the menu, pretending to study it while subtly observing the staff. That's when he noticed her, a young waitress named Clara. She moved with efficiency, but also exhaustion, balancing trays like they weighed more than they should. Her smile for the customers seemed genuine enough, but there was a sadness in her eyes that didn't match the cheerful demeanor she projected. When Clara approached his table to take his order, Alexander gave her a warm nod. "I'll have the classic cheeseburger combo," he said casually, adding, "and maybe you can tell me what makes your pie so special. I've heard great things." Clara hesitated for a moment, then forced a smile. "Our pies are homemade every morning," she replied softly. "You won't regret trying them." As she turned to leave, Alexander caught sight of her hands trembling slightly as she jotted down his order. Something wasn't right. Before he could dwell on it further, the sound of muffled sobs drifted through the swinging kitchen door. Everyone else seemed too preoccupied to notice, but not him. His curiosity spiked. Who was crying? And why? Without thinking twice, Alexander stood up and made his way toward the kitchen. Just as he reached the door, it swung open again, revealing Clara holding a tray of dirty dishes. Their eyes met briefly, and she froze, startled. "Sir?" she stammered. "Is everything okay?" "I thought I heard someone crying," Alexander said gently. "Are you all right?" For a split second, Clara looked like she might break down completely. Then she shook her head, forcing another smile. "It's nothing, just work stuff. Don't worry about it." But Alexander wasn't convinced. He glanced over her shoulder into the bustling kitchen. The other staff members were busy chopping vegetables, flipping burgers, or washing dishes, oblivious to the emotional storm brewing just beneath the surface. "If there's anything I can do to help," he began, letting the sentence trail off meaningfully. Clara hesitated before finally whispering, "Follow me." She led him to a quiet corner near the storage room, where stacks of napkins and condiments lined the shelves. Once they were alone, Clara leaned against the wall, visibly struggling to compose herself. "You don't understand," she said, her voice cracking. "This job, it's all I have. My mom's sick, and we're drowning in medical bills. If I lose this job..." Her words hung heavy in the air. Alexander's heart sank. Here was a young woman carrying burdens no one should have to bear, let alone someone barely in her 20s. He wanted to reassure her, to tell her everything would be fine. But first, he needed answers. "What happened?" he asked gently. "Why do you think you'll lose your job?" Clara wiped her tears with the back of her hand. "There's this new manager," she explained bitterly. "Ever since he started, things have gotten worse. He cuts our hours without warning, docks our pay for stupid reasons, and treats us like machines instead of people. Yesterday, he accused me of stealing tips because my register was short by $5. $5! I swear I didn't take anything, but now he's threatening to fire me." Alexander's jaw tightened. A wave of anger surged through him, but he kept his expression calm. This wasn't just about Clara. It was about systemic issues festering under his watch. How many others were suffering silently? How many stories like hers remained untold? "Listen," he said firmly. "I promise you, I'm going to get to the bottom of this. But I need your trust." Clara stared at him, searching his face for sincerity. Finally, she nodded. "Okay," she whispered. "What do you want me to do?" "First," Alexander said, pulling out his phone, "I need you to show me everything. Your schedule changes, your pay stubs, anything that proves what's been happening. And second," he paused, glancing toward the kitchen, "let's see if we can catch this manager in action." Over the next hour, Alexander stayed in the background, watching carefully as the manager, a tall, imposing man with a perpetual scowl, barked orders at the staff. At one point, he saw the manager deliberately spill soup on the floor and blame it on a busboy who clearly hadn't been nearby. Another time, he overheard the manager mocking a cook for being too slow, despite the overwhelming number of orders coming in. Each incident fueled Alexander's determination. By the end of the day, armed with evidence collected discreetly by Clara and a few brave co-workers, he knew exactly what needed to happen next. That evening, after closing time, Alexander gathered the entire staff in the dining area. For the first time, he removed his disguise, standing tall and authoritative. Gasps rippled through the room as realization dawned on their faces. "My name is Alexander Hartwell," he announced, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "And I am deeply sorry for what you've all endured. What happened here is unacceptable, and I assure you, immediate action will be taken. Effective tomorrow, the current manager will be terminated, and a thorough investigation will begin to ensure this never happens again." The room erupted into murmurs of disbelief and relief. Clara stepped forward, tears streaming down her face. Not of sadness this time, but gratitude. "Thank you," she choked out. "Thank you for believing us." Alexander smiled warmly. "No, thank you," he said, "for reminding me why I started this business in the first place. To create opportunities, not obstacles." From that day forward, the diner transformed, not just in management, but in spirit. Clara became the assistant manager, her leadership shining brighter than ever. And Alexander? Well, he learned a lesson he'd carry for the rest of his career. Sometimes the most powerful changes come from listening to the quietest voices. As weeks turned into months, the diner thrived under Clara's leadership. Morale soared, and customers noticed the difference, not just in the food, but in the warmth of the service. Word spread about the little diner that could, drawing people from neighboring towns. What had once been a struggling branch became one of the most profitable locations in the Hartwell chain. But for Alexander, the impact went far beyond numbers. He implemented new policies company-wide, transparent payroll systems, anonymous feedback channels, and regular visits by senior executives to ensure accountability. Employees were no longer seen as cogs in a machine. They were the heart of the business. One evening, as Alexander sat at his usual spot by the window, Clara approached him with a plate of pie. "This one's on the house," she said with a genuine smile. "It's our newest creation, the comeback cherry. I thought it suited us." Alexander chuckled, taking a bite. The sweetness exploded in his mouth, but it was the symbolism that lingered. "Perfect," he said, "just like your story." Clara hesitated before speaking. "You know, Mr. Hartwell, you didn't just save this diner. You saved us. People like me who felt invisible. You made us matter again." Her words struck a chord deep within him. For years, he'd chased success, measuring it in profits and growth. But now, he understood its true measure. The lives touched, the burdens lifted, the hope restored. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting golden light over the bustling diner, Alexander realized something profound. Success wasn't about building an empire, it was about creating a legacy where everyone had a seat at the table. And in that moment, surrounded by laughter and clinking plates, he knew he'd finally found what truly mattered. If you enjoyed this heartwarming and dramatic story, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. Stories like this are just the beginning. There's so much more coming your way. Join our community, and let's dive into more captivating tales together. See you in the next video.